So we took off, and somewhere prior to maybe an hour or so before we got to Berlin, suddenly our plane just began to shake like this. I mean, literally shake. What happened is that the oil line broke. And on the number 3 engine, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, and they couldn't feather the propeller. And the propeller was turning, and turning the whole engine. That was what was shaking. It wasn't just a propeller, it was the whole engine was shaking. And of course you used up an awful lot of gasoline, and we had to stay up with the group. We stayed with the group, and eventually bombed all the while the plane going like this. And as soon as we finished the bombing, then we got away from the group itself, just flew side by side. Our group passed us, another group passed us, another group passed us, the second division passed us, the first division came up. And by the time we got to the Netherlands, or there about, all the planes had passed us, and there we were. And there were some other planes, even maybe in worse shape than we, lower than we, and what have you, single planes. But we were protected by our own planes. P-51 came down. Oh, I have to tell you this first. Suddenly, instead of going like this, our plane went like this, smoothed out. The propeller shaft had broken. It was no longer turning the engine, but the propeller was going. But it was smooth flying then. But then a P-51 came to us sideways, and I was at the right gun, and I kept my gun up like this to show him I wasn't far. He was a German, you know, I didn't know. And he came in sideways, just like this. And he came in, waved at each other, he waved back. He looked up under our wing, came up, looked over our wing, went down under the wing, came back, and then he took off, and we waved, and he found out, you know, it was a relief to know that someone was there protecting us. But we ran out of, another engine ran out of fuel. I believe it was over the Netherlands. And so we were on two engines then. When we got to the coast, we were, I think, something like 5,000 or 10,000 feet. But we over the North Sea coming down, and we by the time we got to England, we were pretty low on gasoline. And the first field we saw was a B-24 base, and we landed there. Fortunately, no particular problems from landing, but as we were taxiing in, another engine gave out of gasoline, so we were on one engine at that time, but we were on the ground, so it was okay then. And we stayed there, got out of the plane, and it was just oil all over that thing. It was just especially on the right side. And then a truck came eventually to pick us up, I don't know, an hour, 2, 3 hours later, I've forgotten, and brought us here. So we got back onto the base that night. How our plane got back here, I don't know. But that was hairy. And I was told later on, our pilot told us, he said, crew, did you know that they told me we had enough gasoline left to wash the plane. That was all we had left. So that was a little hairy. We knew we were getting low on it, and we were getting ready to throw everything aboard, but we didn't. You know, guns and flak and everything else. But we said, we made it, so we didn't have to, we brought all the guns back anyhow. We flew to Linz, Austria. That's where Hitler's birthplace. But we didn't see Linz, we saw the airfield, the German airfield, the Austrian airfield, whatever it was. And there had some German planes there that were in disrepair. They weren't bombed or anything, they were just cannibalized and so forth. But a whole group of us from this group landed there, and each plane took on 30 French slave prisoners, or whatever you want to call them. They were workers, you know, that the Germans had conscripted or took and put them wherever they wanted. And we flew them back to France, to Chartres. And they were excited to get back. But let me tell you, we had to have the DDT because they were pretty lousy. Fine people, but lousy, you know. And we didn't sprayed ourselves with DDT in the planes and so forth because some of them were pretty bad shape. They were disheveled to some degree. I don't think anyone was starving, but some were hungry. So we were happy to get them back, and they were even happier to be back. But you put 30 people in a B-17, and there's already 5 people in it, 2 pilots and the navigator, the engineer, and the radio operator. There's 35 people. That's a lot of people in the B-17. And of course, we had to put them in the middle of the plane to take off, and then they allowed them out and so forth. But that was heartwarming. And another heartwarming thing was to drop the food in the Netherlands, and that was exciting as well. So.